Okay, I think we'll get started. So welcome to the Helix webinar series. So today's session is the April the 17th. So for those of you that aren't aware, we did run this or start on March the 20th. So this is a webinar series. We'll have 2 more that will be coming up. So if we just talk about today's session. So if we move to the next slide. So today we're going to cover getting started. So it's BMC Helix Observability and AIOps. So this is your essential steps to getting started with your implementation. And before I do my introduction to Yaron, a little bit about myself and a formal introduction. So my name is Samantha Hudson dos Santos Vergara. I work as a senior program manager at BMC. I've worked there now for 12.5 years, so spend a lot of time working with customers. And those probably already on here will know that I run across all of our product areas, lots of webinars. So this is one of many, but this series is very, very specific to AIOps. Hopefully you're going to enjoy this session, and the plan is to continue to do these on a monthly basis. So I'm now going to hand over to Yaron for his formal introduction and to talk about today's agenda. Over to you, Yaron.
Thanks, Sam. And if you can enable my camera.
I can indeed.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining our second session of this series. My name is Yaron Front. I'm a product director on the IT operations, observability, and AIOps team for BMC. This series is meant to be a practical educational journey into the ins and outs of AIOps. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to do a little bit of a recap of what we spoke about last time, but we're also, most of the session today is going to be about the practical uses. So just like the meaning of our series is, we're going to see a demo of how you get from opening a ticket. So if you have a user who opens up a ticket in your IT service management, all the way to resolving the issue, we're going to see a lot of practical things like, how do we get there? How do we get to it? How do we get from where we are right now, which is managing multiple systems and working basically off of events, into using AIOps. So the negative implications of the existing approach, which is usually having, as I said, multiple tools, and the implications are that you have unhappy users with low customer satisfaction, which may impact loyalty and ultimately impacts revenues. Spending goes up, productivity goes down, because you have your best people, they're busy chasing issues and outages. IT is looked at as a barrier to doing business instead of as an engine for innovation and growth, which we all know that's where IT should be. What we're shooting for, so where we're going is that with AIOps, the goal is to have integrated and comprehensive observability and making sense of observability data using artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's having the ability to find and analyze the root cause and fix problems quickly, minimizing disruption to IT and minimizing disruption to domain experts, and minimizing the impact on the business. So it's going from going from reactive to proactive. It's fixing problems before they happen and freeing up valuable resources for strategic projects and innovation. So once you do start implementing, and this is what we're going to be talking about today, an observability and AIOps practice, you can expect increased revenues, better service levels, and transforming IT's perception from a business inhibitor into a business enabler. So let's see how we can do that. So the required capabilities that we're going to actually see in practice today are observability. So how do we get all the information in? Having service context, which is critical for AIOps. It's the ability to detect anomalies, reduce noise, find the root cause. So isolate what the root cause of a problem may be. Automatically remediate. So automation is key. Business today is bigger and faster than humans can actually manage by themselves. And you want to go into the predictive risk identification, proactive capacity planning, and resource optimization to make sure that you're balancing your investment correctly between risks to service levels and wasting on resources that you don't actually need. So the benefits, and we're going to talk a lot about these benefits today when you see the demo, it's improve service reliability, accelerate MTTR, and prevent incidents and improve efficiency. And with that, let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. So how do we get there? How do we actually get to where we want to be? To having a full AIOps practice, which actually gives you all of these benefits. Well, the way you do that is you start from observability. So you want to get all the information into one place. You want to get it from your service management tool. So you know about tickets and incidents, and you want to know about changes because changes carry risk that may later on become issues. So you want to get all that information into one place. You want to get it from your monitoring tools. You want to get events. You want to get logs. You want to get trace. You want to get all of that into one place. But then now you have all this information, you need to reduce the noise because one system fails, that could trigger multiple, many thousands of events often just because one thing failed. So you want to reduce the noise and you want to see your IT operations information in a service context. So this kind of gets us through the first stage. The second stage would be, okay, so now I know what's going on. I've reduced the noise. I see the information in the service context. Now I want to start making sense of it. And that's where capabilities like anomaly detection and root cause isolation come in, and proactive capacity planning. So being able to plan for the future. The next one after that is you want to be able to automate remediation and use predictive services in order to prevent future occurrences of issues that may impact users. So let's talk a little bit about the demo that we're going to see today. So our story is revolving around Apex Fashion. So Apex Fashion went through a digital transformation. What that means is that they have quite a few services. Some of them are in the cloud. Some of them are still on-prem. So if we look at Apex Watches, so they have their main website, which is Apex Watches, and Apex Luxury, and Apex Fitness. This is all obviously on the web. And then they have a lot of their back-end infrastructure here, the CRM, the network, the infrastructure, the storage, that's all on-prem. And they've been experiencing quite a few outages and slowness and things that are not working for their customers. And they want to be able to use AIOps to move quicker, to prevent problems before they happen. And if problems do happen, fix them quickly. So what we're going to see in a demo today is our capabilities like the event noise reduction. So you're going to see that we're going to get events coming in from multiple places. So we're going to get events from the cloud. We're going to get log information. We're going to get changes and incidents from an IT service management system. We get application data from APM. We get network data. All that is reduced to situations. So if I have a service, all the events that are related to a service get into one situation. So I have situation A for the first service, same for the other services. But what we're also able to do is, using artificial intelligence and machine learning, we're able to look at all of these situations. And I'm just reminding you, each one of these situations has multiple events under it. We're able to boil it all down to one master primary situation, which again reduces the noise. So going from thousands of events to a few situations to one situation that actually tells me what I need to know in order to fix the problem that I'm experiencing. And again, we call this the event storm. So what we're going to see is that Apex watches, it's a cloud APM. It's monitored by cloud APM. That's getting its events. So are the other ones. So we're going to have multiple situations rolling up to one primary one. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what do we do as a situation? So the first thing is that we correlate the events to the situations. We create a master or a primary situation, and then we can do root cause analysis. And we're going to see that in the demo. We're also going to talk a little bit about dashboards and active dashboards, which allow you to go from one major dashboard that kind of shows you an overview, and you can drill down into the other tiers. And with that, let's get on with the actual demo. So I'm going to stop my share, and we're going to be back in a minute with the actual demo.
Just while you're doing the demo, Yaron, just a reminder for those that have joined, if you do have any questions during the slides and also the demo, please put them into the Q&A section of Zoom. We will be doing a live Q&A towards the end, so we will pick up those questions.
So as we saw before, Apex Fashion had their main website, Apex Watches, with some smaller websites on the web, obviously, and some on-prem components. Let's see how Apex Fashion can handle an issue with their main website, Apex Watches. So our story starts with users reporting that they cannot add items to their cart. What you can see here is an IT service management application, and you can see a list of tickets. So let's go into the ticket and see what we can actually see, and see how AIOps can help us identify what the problem is and allow us to rapidly fix the issue. So if we go into the ticket, in this case, what we can see is the description of the problem, who is assigned, and all the regular stuff you would see in a ticketing system. But in addition, you can see that there's an indication here of what the affected service is. So it's apexwatches.com. But if we scroll down, we can also see that using AIOps, we're able to see a top probable cause of which node is causing the problem. So we have an impacted server, we have the IP address, we have a probability of this actually being the impacted server, which is causing the problem of not being able to add items to the cart. And now the service representative is able to hand this off to an operations person to be able to start solving the problem, but you don't start from just a general problem. You already have a very definite indication of what the service is, what the impact is, and what is a possible root cause node. So now we can just click in, and we go into our AIOps console. And in this console, what we see is an overview of Apex watches. So this is the website that is affected. If I look at the past 6 hours, I can see that my health score is affected. So I have my health score up here. So we're at about 56% health, which is obviously not good. I can see which impacted child services there are. And I can see the number of incidents, the number of total events, impacting events. But what I can also see is a timeline that is color-coded to the health of this service. And these ticks underneath here indicate major information that I need to look at when analyzing a possible issue with this service. So the first one is that I see that just about an hour before things started to go wrong, there was an actual change. So between 12:25 and 12:30, a change was made to a component, to an infrastructure component that could affect the health of this service. What I'm also seeing that exactly 1 hour later, events started to come in. So here I had 15 different events that came in, and here I had another 3 events, and from there on you see that the health of my service is deteriorating. Now, so this gives me an overview and the timeline of what actually happened. But if I look down here, I can actually see the same service topology that we saw before in the slide. That's actually available to the operators. And why is that important? Because that allows us to see how different services impact each other and how, so if I hover over this, this shows me that the core network service impacts my CRM service that's running on VMware on-prem, which is impacting my apexwatches.com service. So this is very important, and this actually tells me also the count of situations. I have 1 situation over here, 1 here, and 2 up here. So this is telling me that events have come in, they have been correlated into situations having to do with each one of these different services. And now I can go ahead and start investigating what actually went wrong. So if I go back to this view, I can also look at a CI topology. So this is an infrastructure view of what is going on. So if I expand this a little bit, we can see that we have 1 causal node. So that's the same one that we saw in the service ticket. But we can see that this is impacting 2 others, a software instance and a software container. And if I expand these, I can actually see the topology, and again, I can see what is affecting what is causing a problem. So if I'm going from here, so this is affecting this, which is affecting this. This is also being affected by this host, all the way down to the software cluster, which I can also expand. And I can see how everything comes back and goes into the different software components. So this, again, this gives me a view that I can either have an abstracted view that just shows me what the causal node is and what it's affecting. It's affecting a software instance and a software container. A software cluster. I can also see a more general view like this, but I'm more interested in seeing the root cause because I'm here to find a problem and fix it as quickly as possible. Now I can go in from here. So now that I've seen my topology, I know where the problem is. I've seen the impacts on the different services. I can go and analyze the situation. So if I go in, I see that I have 2 situations, one coming from Intuity, the other one coming from Dynatrace, and one happened 30 minutes ago, another one 37 minutes ago, but I see that I have my primary situation. So a primary situation is essentially an aggregation of several other situations that together can tell me what's going on. So I can go into my primary situation and see that the situation has to do with a core network and that where the information is coming from Intuity, and there's a network outage detected, and that the device is not reachable. So now I see all the different situations that make up this primary situation, and I can go in and I can see an indication here that tells me this is most likely the root cause of this primary situation. So I can drill down into the root cause situation. And the first thing we see is a GenAI generated human readable description of the situation. So we can see that this is a network outage issue, and it's a network outage issue on this network device, which is a root cause of the situation. We're also told about how the situation began and what caused what. So the situation began with a network outage detected on this, which was caused by this, and it was followed by an interface error rate increase on this Ethernet device, and so forth and so on. So this is a human readable description of the situation. Next, we can see some general information like the impacted service and the criticality. And then we get an explanation of the actual situation, which means that if you can see there are two layers here. So we have the network devices here, and we can see that we had one event that triggered another and another and another, which afterwards triggered additional events on a host. Now, what you can see is that as I'm hovering over these events, here on the CI topology and analysis view, I can see which device it is and how it's impacting the others. So how events are actually impacting each other. An important thing to note here is that this actually explains in graphical form what we saw here in the history. But we can also see a list view, which shows us the actual messages and also shows me an impact score and a probability of one of these events being the root cause. So I can go into this event and I can see the event details. So the event score is 22, which is pretty high for a root cause. It is a P1. It tells me all the information I need to know. But an important part here is that I'm told that I also have two automations. So if you remember, one of the main benefits of using AIOps is the ability to fix problems quicker before they actually impact your levels of service. So if I click on this, I see that I have two possible automations already defined. And with just a click of the button, I can run any of these two automations. I can also request for a new automation to be created. So all I need to do is I can run either the network diagnostic or the network config reset to fix this problem. I can have a closer look at my topology, so I can see what is affecting what. I can see each one of these. I can see the relevant events that were generated for each one of these CIs. And you can see that this came from Dynatrace, and these came from Intuity. So we have all of these different sources that are feeding in what is essentially the event storm, but they all get aggregated over here. They get assigned and correlated into situations, And then the situations using AI are clustered into a master situation that I can then go ahead and analyze and fix the issue. I can also see related situations down here, and I see that there is one master situation, so there's one primary situation, and I can see all the related sub-situations that are under this primary situation. And this is how you use AIOps to fix problems quicker, to get to resolution, to understand the root cause. We saw that, if we just look at this one situation, we have many events. So this is also noise reduction. And the noise reduction goes from events to situations to primary situation. We also see the generative AI part of this, where you get the description in human readable form. So you can have less experienced people have an explanation of what exactly happened. And we also saw that in order to fix the issue, there are available automations that people and operators who may not be network experts can just go in and run, because we know that these automations are going to fix the primary problem here. Now, in a normal environment, we could go to our synthetic monitoring, like in CashPoint, or we could go into a tool like Dynatrace, and all of these, they have a lot of this information. But at the end of the day, do you really want to be working with this type of information and trying to drill down and get to the root cause? Or do you want to work with something like this, which actually guides you to what the problem is, what caused the problem, and what is the best way to solve the root cause of this problem? Another important capability of an AIOps IT operations management platform is the ability to plan ahead and continuously optimize both your infrastructure and your services to ensure that you're able to meet future demand and future user needs. And for this, you want to be able to predict and simulate into the future things like additional load or changing environments or seasonality that come with the different business services that you provide. An important tool for that would be the ability to simulate into the future. But when we talk about simulating into the future using AI, we're talking about taking business drivers or critical business KPIs and having the ability to forecast those into the future. So what we see here is an overview of the business services that we have. So we can go ahead and look inside and see a list of our business services. So let's take ACME billing as an example. And ACME billing has a number of business drivers, so business KPIs. And the first thing we can see is that for each one of these business drivers, we can see how much growth the current infrastructure can support right now. So for backend operations, we can have a growth of up to 290%. Visits, so visits to this specific service, we can have 72%. So let's try and see what it's going to look like if Apex Watches, for instance, has an increase in the number of visits. So I can go in and I can see what my patterns are, and I can go into the business service and run a what if simulation. So this is my business service. It shows me my risk, my usage, and I can run a simulation. So when I go in and run this simulation, what we're going to see is that we're taking into account both organic growth, but also future business events that may impact demand on this system. So I see that right now we're in April, we're all good till October, that's fine. But what I can do is I can look at each one of these business drivers and I can say, show me what it's going to look like if the number of visits grows by a certain percentage. So I can go into this business driver, click edit, and see a simulation. So let's say, I'm going to call this change, an annual sale, and I'm going to say, show me what it's going to look like if I have 100% growth starting on, I don't know, May 15th. So the first thing that happens is that it's showing me a graph of what that's going to look like. But once I run the simulation, I can see that 100% growth in the number of visits is going to cause a saturation. So I need to get prepared for that. But we don't stop there. We want to know, what should I do in order to support this business event? So I have a recommended sizing which says that I should take the billing web portal pool of resources and increase the servers from 1 to 2. So I can go ahead and I can turn that on and I can apply the change. And I can now see that I have an indicator of a business event that's going to happen, a remediation step that I'm going to take, and it also shows me that the remediation steps suggested here to take on May 15th is going to solve the future saturation issue. And beyond that, it's actually telling me what are the changes that I need to make. So I need to take the VM instances and increase it from 1 instance to 2, which is going to grow the number of CPUs from 4 to 8, the memory from 32 to 64, and the storage as well. And I can also see, from an infrastructure perspective, where we are on peak usage, what the peak usage data is, and exactly what that's going to look like. And I can also go into the pool detail and see a graph that shows me my limit, my threshold up here, and what is actually going to happen once I apply this fix. I can turn this off, apply that again, and now we can see that what is going to actually saturate is my billing web portal pool. I can drill in and I can see that it's actually the CPU that's my main constraint. And I can also go in and define my own change. So I can do a scale up or a scale out and either add more CPUs in memory, or I can just add instances like like the recommendation was. So I can go in, I can say, okay, I just want to increase the number of CPUs. So I'm going to the web portal, and I want to do a scale up, and I want to increase the number of CPUs to 8. And I can apply my change. And I see that by just adding the right number of CPUs, now my CPUs are at 61%, I'm all good. So that's how you can run simulations and plan ahead. And an important aspect of this is that we're talking in terms of business services and business drivers. We're not talking about the infrastructure, and that's where the artificial intelligence part of this comes in. We're able to forecast future demand of infrastructure in the context of business services based on our learning from the past about how business KPIs affect demand on infrastructure. As we saw in this demo, one of the most important aspects of having the ability to run effective AIOps is being able to define business models. And for that, we're going to look very briefly at a tool that allows you to very rapidly and simply define business models. So here we can see the definition, a graphical representation of the definition of our Apex watches that's running on AWS. It has these other services, Apex CRM, Apex Luxury, that are running on VMware on-prem and in other places, and you can see all the relationships. And what you want to be able to look for is a tool that can both define the business models rapidly, have the ability to maintain them, so to keep them updated with concepts like dynamic service modeling, and having the ability to not have to start from scratch every time, and have abilities like service blueprints, which we're going to be talking about a lot more in a future session. Another important tool in order to run effective AIOps is having the ability to take all that information that we saw, both from AIOps, the AIOps tool itself, so situations and events, and the business models and the topology and the context and everything together and all the event sources, and bring them together into one place. And for that, you want to look for a dashboard solution that's able to take all that information. So this is a dashboard. This is what we call an executive dashboard for Apex watches. So we see things like response distribution, top page hits, top endpoints. So you can scroll down and you can see a lot of information. We're going to talk, again, in a future session, a lot more about dashboards. And to be able to do all this, one of the first steps is you want to bring all the information into one place. You have to remember, AIOps is as good as the information that is fed into it. You want to have a wide base of information, and you want to have continuous flow of information in. For that, you want to look for a tool that's able to take multiple sources and bring in things like metrics and events and topology, which actually build up the context for the data and have all that flowing in, but you also want to have an out point so you can also feed information back in to other sources. So, if you look at the kind of breadth of data sources here that you can feed things from, and you also want to be able to add different destinations. So you can feed the information back out from the platform to other tools. So you're looking essentially for an open platform for what you're doing. So to recap, in order to have an effective AIOps practice, you want to have observability, you want to be able to have service context, you want to be able to do advanced capabilities such as anomaly detection, noise reduction, root cause isolation, automated remediation, and predictive risk identification, proactive capacity planning, and resource optimization. Once you have those required capabilities in place, you will get improved service reliability, accelerated time to resolution, and you'll be able to prevent incidents and improve efficiency. So going back to our live session now, and we're going to be looking at some of the things that we just saw in that demo. And one of the things is, so how do you get there? So the first requirement is, you want to monitor with IT operations management, and you need to manage an enterprise service management tool. And you want to get all the information in. So what we saw in the demo today is when we were talking about AIOps and when we were talking about how do we get things in, we saw that we used topology. We got event data in. We got metric data in. We got the logs in. But we also got incidents, so tickets and explanations and human text that is actually analyzed. We got change information in. We got defect information in. We got knowledge articles. And now you need to make sense of it. So you want to have a learning platform with an AI foundation. You want to be able to talk in service terms, not in infrastructure, so service-centric models. And you want to have domain-specific large language models that know how to understand the human written or the human part of it, but also knows how to explain things in human readable form. And to do that, you actually need to engage, excuse me, in 3 different types of artificial intelligence and machine learning models. You need to have predictive AI for saturation forecasting, for impact prediction. You need to have artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms and statistical methods for predictions. You need to have causal AI that knows how to analyze what the cause of a problem may be. And that includes things like root cause isolation, which we saw, service impact, which we saw in the demo, automated service modeling, anomaly detection. So automated service modeling is something that we're going to be talking about in the future, which is a very basic step on your way to AIOps, which is how do I model my services effectively, accurately, and quickly without having to spend a lot of resources. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Things like similar situations. So what we actually do is we do fingerprinting for situations. So we can show you if it's a situation that you have right now is similar to a situation that you had in the past. And if you took remediation actions in the past to solve the situation, and the fingerprint of that situation is similar to the situation you have now, well, maybe it's going to work again. So here's a good indication what you should do. Knowledge graph that we saw, incident correlation. So how do you take incidents, correlate them into a situation? Topology reconciliation. So you may have different data sources feeding you with topology information. How do you reconcile all that? A certain CI may be coming in from different sources, and you want to be able to reconcile all of that. And last but not least is generative AI. So you want to be able to do a conversational experience. So we didn't really see this in the demo, but there are tools out there today, and we've built tools that enable you to have a conversation where you can go in and say, what is the root cause of this incident? Which team can fix this problem that I'm having right now? Who should I call? So things like that we're going to see in a future session when we kind of dive a little bit more into generative AI and the GPT part of this. Change risk prediction. So again, a lot of problems happen as a result of change, and you want to be able to predict that. Again, we're going to dive into that. So all of these capabilities are what go into an AIOps practice, and it's built on being able to bring quality data in, having the right platform with the right capabilities in order to understand, make sense, and analyze the information. So like we said, you start from observability, you add context to it, and then you're able to do advanced capabilities like noise reduction, so taking lots of events, pulling them into one, adding service context, anomaly detection. So everything, all the capabilities that we already saw in our demo, this is kind of the roadmap to getting there. And it starts, like I said, starts from observability and adding context to it. And now, right on time, we have 10 minutes left. So Sam, do we have any questions that we've had so far?
We do. We have quite a few. Let me just give the ability also for everyone to talk. Just give me 1 or 2 seconds to give access to people to also raise hands. So if you haven't put any questions into the chat, but you do want to ask anything live, please raise your hand. And again, if you do want to put questions still, we're giving you the opportunity to do that right till the end of this session. So we're roughly going to have around 15 minutes. So Yaron, the first question, why I continue to unmute. So how is, this is from Pradeep, how is performance engineering involved in observability?
Well, that's actually a great question. I mean, performance engineering can contribute a lot of valuable information into the AI models. Like I said before, AI ops and AI in general, to be quite clear about that, is as good as the data that you feed into it. So performance engineering can definitely help with AI ops by feeding in the required information for that. Any other questions?
Pradeep, yeah, let me just check. Pradeep, does that answer your question? I did see that you were off mute, but I just put you on mute for Yaron to answer because there was some background noise. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does answer the question. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks
Do you
for the
have
question,
any
Pradeep.
other questions? Yeah, and if you've got any other questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so Yaron, the next question that we had, and we'll take one of the hands that have just been raised as well. So do we have, this is an anonymous attendee, do we have an option to view and access the entire log generated without any limit and without impacting the scalability and performance? Another good question.
Yes, it's absolutely a good question. And it really depends what you want to do with the logs. I mean, you can have access to your existing logs. You can have our AIOps engine basically read the logs and put that as another source of information into the platform. And you can also apply large language models and generative AI to better understand the logs and get insights from these logs. So one of the new things that I don't want to preempt this is going to be announced next week, but if you do join a webinar that we have next week, which Sam's going to talk about, we're actually going to be talking about a new feature that we're adding to the platform, which is log insights, and that's essentially a large language model that is fine-tuned to the domain of IT operations, that's able to go into logs, analyze them, and learn from them. So that's actually a very good question. So yes, you can get different layers of information, and it's up to you how much of the information you want to get in and how much you want that to be processed.
Thank you, Yaron. Hopefully that answers the question. If that is someone that's still on the call, if you just want to drop us a message to say that's answered your question. So we'll move on to the next question in the Q&A. So Alejandro has actually asked a couple of questions. So Alejandro, you're welcome to come off mute as well. So he's just asked how to get the layers in the situation explanation, and then I'll go on to his second question after Yaron.
Yeah, that's a really important point. So what we're able to do is we're able to use artificial intelligence. So we have different classification and segmentation algorithms that know how to look at the events and associate them to different layers And that's basically how we build a layer model. And we're able to look in the past and learn, and then apply it into the future to understand what caused what. So what caused what is essentially the layers there. So you can see that the network layer, that's where the problem started, and then it affected a server or a software instance. That's done through artificial intelligence.
Alejandro, I don't know if you want to come off mute, just to confirm that's answered your question. If it's really busy, then if you can just reply into the chat. He did also have a second question. Where can we see an example that used the predictive risk identification that was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation?
Absolutely. You can reach out to either myself or to Sam, and we'll happily arrange for a demonstration of that. I didn't do it in today's demo. There's a lot of content. I am going to address this in a future session, but if this is something more immediate that you want to have a look at, then we can certainly set up a meeting. Again, you all have access to both Sam and myself through LinkedIn, or you can just reach out to us directly, and we can have a conversation about that.
Thanks, Yaron. Alejandro, hopefully, again, that answers your question. I've just put a response back into the chat, and anyone that signs up to these registrations, you will find my contact details as well. And Yaron mentioned in the presentation, there is a LinkedIn logo. You can click on there and you've got access to us via LinkedIn as well. Okay, so moving on to the next question, Ahmed. Hello, how are you? Hopefully you're in a bit of a quieter place today. If you do want to come off mute, and I know you attend quite a lot of our sessions as well. Your question that came out was, if I selected a request, a new automation to be created, where would this request go to? ITSM as a request or somewhere as an email to an admin? Can you give me some more details, Yaron?
Absolutely. I don't have that off the back of my head right now, but let me send you an email right after this session, Ahmed. And I know that you've worked with Sam in the past, so we'll reach out to you and put you in, probably just put you in touch with the right product manager to answer that question.
Great, thank you, Yaron.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question from Sergey. The topology of the CI and the services, does it come from the CMDB?
Absolutely. It can come from a CMDB. You should take it from the CMDB. Now, there are layers and services above CMDB, but the basic information does come from the CMDB. But if you want to, if you're on your journey there and you want to be able to define and discover service models and be able to define those on your way to AIOps, so there are excellent tools out there today that allow you to do that quickly. But the basics, if you already have them, they come from CMDB.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that's answered your question, Sergey. Again, feel free to come off mute if you want to ask any additional questions. So Alejandro asked another question. Can you use service ops, AIOps without BHOM? The situations can be generated only with the service management data, for example.
Well, that's not possible because events, and be it events that come from platform tools or events that come from other tools like we saw from Dynatrace and others, they're an essential component of the data that's being fed into AIOps. So the AI is not going to know what to do with only service management data. You do need to have somewhere that's feeding events in. Now, you don't need to use, so you're giving an example here of BMC Helix Operations Management, but if I keep it kind of more at a general level, you do need somewhere to get the events from, right? And if you can get the events, then all BHOM, all BMC Helix Operations Management would just get those events and keep them. So you don't need to use the native tools to get the events, but you do need the events themselves. And the piece of the service that actually manages the events is, in the case of Helix, it's BMC Helix Operations Management.
Thank you very much, Yaron and Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you, Alejandro.
Yeah, thank you for your questions even. Okay, we've got 2 more questions. I'm conscious we've got to the hour, so we'll just take these last 2 questions. So Kershid has asked a question. How does TrueSight help with BMC AIOps? Is BMC AIOps able to consume SCOM data? I didn't see this on the list.
Okay, so first question is, we're talking about BMC Helix. So Helix is the evolution. It's the next step after TrueSight. So what you need is you need the platform because it has platform services. So Helix contains a platform services. It also contains the ability to get the information in, and all that is fed into BMC Helix AIOps or service monitoring, and that's where the magic happens. But you need the platform in order to get the information in, get everything into one place, and be able to use it in AIOps. And yes, it does support SCOM data.
Hershey, do you want to ask any other questions, and does that answer your question?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your question. Thank you. So one left question in the Q&A, and then we've got one hand raised. So Ravi asked a question was about real-time event and alert monitoring. How and where is the log, metrics, traces, information stored?
Okay. Well, first off, I'm going to put a disclaimer here. I'm very wary of the term real time. So everything is near real time, right? But having said that, so the events and the metric data and all the relevant information that is processed by the Helix platform is stored as part of the platform. So it's logs, metrics, trace, everything else comes into the platform, stored, managed, analyzed, processed, AIOps, Gen AI, generative AI, all that, all the magic happens within the platform itself. And that's what you want, okay? So whatever tool you're going to be using, it needs to be able to get all the data into one place and have the engine, the capabilities, the AI ops and machine learning capabilities to make sense of it, to make the connections, to understand the context, to put the service models into play, and to give you the simplicity of telling you, here is where the problem is, here's what you should do to fix it. And with that, Sam, I think we're a little bit over time.
We are. I just want to give the opportunity for Madhu, who's been very patient with his hand up.
Yes,
so
please.
Madhu, do you want to just come off mute? And then we'll go back to slides. Can you hear us, Madhu? Hello? I can see you're off mute, but we can't hear you. I don't know if maybe he's having problems with his
So maybe
audio.
Sam, we can reach out to Madhu
Okay.
after the session.
Yes, let's do that, because Madhu does contribute quite a lot to our webinars. So do you want to just go back to the slides just so we can give a final wrap to remind everyone where they can go and get their content?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So just a reminder, for those that did watch our first one in the series, which was March the 20th, we did share this documentation, but we've kept that on there, and I've added 2 extra webinar sessions we've done since. So session 1 is also added in there with the slides, the recording, recommended education. And then we've also had a webinar that was done by support, which is under Helix Intelligent Automation. And then we've got additional references. So this is what's being shared now. If you haven't already subscribed to the Helix channels, we've also got BMC Docs. If you click on the YouTube link, that will take you to the playlist for exactly this type of content for AIOps. And then finally, what's coming up? So we've got a couple of more sessions coming up. So the series, if you want to sign up, you can sign up for the next two ones in the series that are coming up, and also any past ones that you haven't been able to join. If you click and add those, you will be able to get those recordings on demand. Yaron did mention earlier about a session he'll be running next week. So this is the one on the 25th of April. He will be running a dual session with solutions marketing. So please sign up for that if you get the opportunity. That's the giving IT observability context to isolate root cause faster. And then our two next sessions that we've also referenced there as well, and sign up are on these links. And then the final reminder is, for those that do come to the other webinar series, that link at the bottom will take you to all the other sessions we run, which is across all of the product stack.